special period because I played a lot as a kid. I played puppet theater, I was one of the youngest musicians, I told stories, organized games for the whole neighborhood, etc., etc. On a certain moment I had to take a job for my father. Job. And it was in an insurance company. It's a big hall like this with all desks, you know. And my desk was standing in front of a big glass window with 4 directors watching you. Can you imagine? In a row you were sitting, 4 directors. So normally I had 1 teacher, now I had 4 watching me, you know. And I thought I was in hell for the rest of my life, this. And then I made the best decision in my life. I said, I will never have a job in my life, never. And I don't want to have anything to do with money. And I keep playing. And I waved to the directors and moved the typewriter off the desk. It fell down on the floor and I was fired. And I lied to my father that I wanted to go into the publicity business, it's big money. And I could go to the art academy in Den Bosch. And of course I didn't want to go into art, into art and all these things, you know. But, so I immediately moved out of my home, from my parents, and I started painting. And soon I had a little theater group, pantomime group, on the art academy. I didn't go much to the art academy because, yeah, I find it a little boring. But that group was nice, you know, and before the intermission, we did traditional theater. I was studying all these things. And after, we did new theater. And I had contact then with a young composer who played music in the Brabants orchestra, the Brabants orchestra. And I heard the newest sounds, you know, from Stockhausen and all these people. So after the intermission, we did new music, but I thought music is not only sound, music can be also movement in combination with sound. It can actually, everything that you don't give a name or don't give a story can be music, you know. So we did weird things, like for example, we had an act with a friend of mine, Hans Klaassen, who was also in the school there. And we were the 3 of us, you know, 2 boys and 1 girl. And before the intermission we played Arlecchino and Pierrot and Colombine. This is theater, the ancient theater. And afterwards I did weird things like 4B and 1O. And Hans was standing there, I was standing here, and we went like Brother, bop, bop, yeah. It was experimental. So we started doing all these kind of things, and at a certain moment I got in contact with some of the young composers in this country. And I got them all together, explaining them that it would be high time to go beyond sound, to go beyond what music officially is, you know, just playing. And they were interested, and we started the Mood Engineering Society, the MES, yeah? And I got come so far. They were all experimental, you know. And for the Dutch people, they might know the people here that I talk about. They were very famous later. Peter Schat, Michel Mengelberg, Louis Andries, you name it, Jaap Spek, Rob Dubois, etc., etc. Now very big names in the music world in Holland. And yeah, I organized 3 big concerts. And you know, we did things like, Louis Andries came up on the piano, sit down, applause. And then I would stand next to the piano as a singer, applause, so okay. And then he said, bong, and it became silent, everybody waiting. Achoo! So soon the audience discovered that they were making the piece. And then of course, blah, it exploded, you know. And for B&1O with my friend I did, but you know, the press was so furious. And you know, all the young composers stepped out, they were terrified for their career. You know, because they all had official studies, you know, and if they were composing pieces and the orchestra said, no, you're stupid from the Mood Engineering Society. But no, they all stepped out. And I was so disappointed. I thought, oh my God, this art world is dictatorship. You know, say this, the museums and the concert buildings and the galleries, they decide who is good and who isn't. Who can be accepted to work. And then I discovered Nam June Paik. And I went there. He had an exhibition in Wuppertal. And I talked about all the weird things I was doing. And he said, you are Fluxus? I said, well, what is that? You will see, you will see. And he was talking, and I liked what he was doing too, you know. And at a certain moment I was back home in Amsterdam and I wrote a little piece in a newspaper about Nam June Paik. And I got a phone call from George Matunas and he said, you are Fluxus? And from that moment I was part of Fluxus. And we have been giving concerts all over Europe, all over the world, basically, with sounds that is, sometimes a little part of the weirdest multimedia stuff, I can say that. For the first time, all the different medias were thrown on one heap and the weirdest things started to happen. And that's what I liked. To go into unknown territories, you know. And so I heard we just had a piece with paper. When I stopped painting, I took the last piece of paper and I crumbled it up. And that was my last work of art. And the crumbled piece of paper became famous. On a certain moment there were like big crumbled pieces of papers driving through the city with police before and behind. And there was like crumbled paper fashion and crumbled paper theater and crumbled paper labyrinths and etc. etc. It's amazing. And if you're interested, you can still watch a television program, because we became young upcoming artists in Holland, that I made with Wim T. Schippers in 1963. So you can see a young version of us on Dutch television in the very first television studio that Holland had in an old little church. And yeah, it was so weird. We did the weirdest things, you know, that was never done on television before. And the newspapers again were furious and they thought we all made it up. Stupid, you know what I mean? Warhol, typically made up names, you had never heard of it. And we announced for the first time all the new art in that time. Pop art, fluxus, nouveau realism, zero, you name it. And I started a little gallery and I immediately invited Nam June Paik and organized probably the only one that Nam June Paik only had in Holland, an exhibition of was a piano, beautiful piano standing there. And if you sat behind it as a visitor and you pushed one button, then all the lights went out. Another button was then the sirens come. Another button was then something fell off the floor. And so whatever you played, you know, the whole things happened all over the place. And so, yeah, I've been working with these unknown territories for the rest of my life. On a certain moment, I started radio art on Dutch national radio, you know, where people actually get instructions to do the weirdest things, and they did. On a certain moment, people were asked to go into their car at 1 o'clock in the night, you know, and turn on the radio and listen to my instructions, and they would be the main actor in a three-dimensional movie. And you know what happened? About 30,000 people stepped in their cars. Can you imagine? I was flabbergasted. The first one I did was not so many people, but on a certain moment it became so well known that since then they never dared to do that. You know, and can you imagine? At 2 in the night there was a traffic jam from horizon to horizon, you know. And then my voice said, if I count 1, 2, 3, you turn 10 seconds long all the lights off. And everybody was driving in the dark, can you imagine? Also I came into a little village and I had to open the window, and when I count 1, 2, 3, I had to shout as loud as I could, Mama! The whole village woke up, can you imagine? Also we were driving on a little dike next to the river. And then the voice said, oh shit, I made a mistake. We have to turn around, we have to go the other way. Can you imagine thousands of cars trying to turn around on a small dike now? And a little music with it, you know, and all of a sudden I said, oh, okay, shit, I made a mistake. I was right, we have to go back, turn again. You know, and I had to go, it was... And on a sudden they arrived in a small village near a beautiful big castle, and we had a special man ready with a boat to bring the people to the castle, so there would be an end party. But when he saw thousands of cars entering the village, he escaped. So they took boats themselves and made floats. So it was amazing. So all the newspapers, of course, were filled to the brim, all the front pages, you know. And yeah, but the radio art programs that I did, people were actually had to take a portable radio, listen to my voice, yeah, go outside, yeah, go to the house of your neighbor, yeah, ring the bell, yeah, and let the radio do the talking. Hello, the radio said, this is your neighbor. He wants to visit you. Can he come in? So yeah, since then I've done many things with radio art or sound art or how you call it. And indeed, you know, it is an incredible territory where it's very important to go into, yeah, what can I say? It's like storytelling, you know. You have to completely disappear into it. You should never, never try to amuse the listeners. You cannot go into their head and see what they like. You cannot go into their body and see what they feel. All we can do is go into our own head and our own body. And if we really go out of our mind, really totally into it, you know, really go completely flabbergasted, then they are too. Because scientifically, it's already for a long time that we've discovered that we are pure energy. That you and I are pure energy. So there's no difference between you and me. The moment it's real here, it's real there. Feeling-wise, and as a kid we are born with feelings. We didn't think yet. You know, as a kid when you are born you don't think. They teach you thinking. It's the worst things they can teach you, but yeah. Now you're stuck with it. Now the whole day it's going like bum, 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 you know that. And thinking doesn't stop anymore. Day and night it goes on. Sometimes I talk to people and you see them, I say, you have a brain attack? Yeah. But feelings never lie. I mean, the thoughts we've learned are all lies, but feelings never lie. And feeling-wise we are connected. If somebody in a shop tries to sell you something, you feel it. If somebody on the stage is doing an enormous effort to make good music, you walk out. You want him to completely disappear into the sound, and you disappear too. And so, I've tried these things many, many times. For example, I've done, when the time of the cassettes were there, I made a special program that anybody could send a cassette and I would play it unheard. You heard me open the envelope, take out the cassette and play it, without judging. And it's amazing, people could barely believe that. You could just be on the radio just like that. And sometimes there was on the cassette, hey asshole, de Ridder, shit, fuck you. And I played 1 minute. And they were so shocked that it was played on the Dutch radio, national radio, that the next time they worked their ass off to make something nice. You know, and some great talents came out of it, because I just gave them the chance. And that's it, you know. With sound art too. If the moment you're into it, everybody is into it. It doesn't matter which way you go. It doesn't matter how experimental it is. Because experimental means it goes beyond what's official, what's allowed. We are free. We are absolutely free. Nobody can decide for us, as they have done for centuries, what's good or what isn't. The only one who can decide is us. If we are totally into it, everybody is into it. You don't have to worry about it. It's automatic. So, we're going to have a look now at this movie. I'm very curious, I haven't seen it either. And I wish you great fun, great pleasure, and just go out of your mind. Huh?